He didn't bother lowering his voice. Captain Marcus Vayner let the words fly like a challenge thrown into the center of the room. Just a girl pretending to be a warrior. The smirk he wore afterward was sharper than any combat knife. Petty Officer First Class Ridley Cass stood in the back, arms folded, expression unreadable. Not a twitch of irritation, not a flicker of doubt. She'd learned long ago that reaction was weakness. And weakness was blood in the water. She'd already bled, already drowned, already clawed her way through the darkest corners of hell to earn the trident pinned to her chest. That little piece of metal weighed more than every opinion in that room, including his. And in 3 days, when a rust-stinking cargo ship off the Horn of Africa turned into a tomb of steel and screams, when chaos made every plan meaningless, he would discover the hard way what a mistake it was to underestimate a woman who had refused to break long before he ever knew her name. The USS Michael Mansour cut through black waves, Aegean blue hull knifing into the Gulf of Aden under starless skies. The briefing room reeked of sweat, gun oil, and bitter coffee that had been reheated one too many times. Ridley stood in the shadow of the rear bulkhead, content to let the others absorb the mission details while she kept her breathing calm and her heartbeat slower than a metronome. Fewer than a dozen women had earned their place among naval special operators. The number fluctuated, injuries, washouts, transfers, but she remained. 4 years in, 2 combat deployments, a record most operators would envy. Yet every new space she walked into, she could feel the silent recalibration from those already there. Judgment first, proof later. Alaska felt like another life. Ketchikan mornings smelling of diesel and fish guts. Her father swearing at stubborn nets while winter rain hammered the deck. She learned strength from cold water and survival from watching men who never complained despite bodies bent by labor. She learned work mattered more than words. She learned no one would carry her through a storm. Joining the Navy at 19 wasn't rebellion. It was oxygen. But as was a crucible. Hell Week was the moment she came closest to ringing that bell. Salt water filling her lungs, hallucinations gnawing at the edges of her thoughts, instructors barking threats inches from her ear. Yet she stayed, because quitting meant going back to who she was, and she wasn't that girl anymore. She rose. Advanced tactical training, breaching, explosives, sniper cross-qualification. Syria had shown her the real test wasn't pushing through pain. It was staying calm when life leaked out around you. When screams echoed over the radio. When a half-second delay could erase an entire team. Respect wasn't given. It was carved out one mission at a time. Vayner had carved plenty of his own. A former Marine, gruff and loud, with a battlefield resume that backed every arrogant syllable. A man who didn't need to explain his disdain for women in combat. He wore it like a patch on his sleeve. His stare landed on her like a targeting laser as he explained what the job required. Power, speed, lethal precision, and no hesitation. Then he questioned the lineup. Not with her name, just enough implication to sting. Lieutenant Hale backed her without blinking. Skills proven in blood, not hypotheticals. Vayner shrugged it off, insisting paper skills didn't mean much when lead started flying. The topic died there, but every operator in the room heard exactly what he meant. That night, she took refuge on the flight deck. Stars glittered like frost across the heavens. The sea moved like something ancient and alive. She thought of her father standing behind her during a storm at 14, letting her steer the boat while waves tried to drag them under. "Fear is fine," he'd said. "Fear keeps you awake. Just don't let it make you stupid." She wasn't scared of combat. She was furious that she had to prove herself again and again while others got to be human. One mistake from them was a learning experience. One mistake from her was confirmation bias. For a breath, she imagined stepping back, letting another operator take the hit. But that wasn't who she was, and it wasn't who any woman coming after her deserved. The MH-60 roared into the sky at 200. Ridley sat near the open door, night vision glowing cold on her face, fast rope gloves snug around her fingers. The ship ahead waited like a dead beast. No lights, no sounds, nothing but a jagged silhouette against the horizon. Thermal picked up heat signatures, 6 bodies, unknown friend or foe. She dropped from the helicopter without hesitation, rope burning heat into her palms as she struck the deck, moving fluidly into a crouch and sweeping her sector clear. The team advanced under emergency lighting, red glows casting everything into shades of danger. Metal beneath boots, rust, blood, the unmistakable metallic odor of violence. Gunfire rained from above. Rifle rounds punched through steel like hail through glass. Sparks showered the hallway. The team shifted approach, but the vessel's layout was a labyrinth. Vayner's voice crackled over comms, pressure creeping into his tone. Hostiles headed toward the engine room. Risk of demolition. He suggested prepping for kinetic support from the air. An airstrike would reduce the hostages to ash. They all knew it. Ridley thought of currents and winds and fishermen who survived where others didn't because they saw angles everyone missed. The others were thinking horizontally, hallways, hatches, corners. She thought vertical. The exposed exterior ladder would take her where the passages couldn't. Dangerous, but decisive. She moved before anyone could argue, hands gripping steel rungs slick with sea mist. Boots silent despite elevation. She kept low among stacked containers, NVGs turning darkness into sickly green detail. Two silhouettes visible through the bridge glass. Nervous movements, AKs raised. Unaware death crept closer. Prone, controlled breathing. Thumb brushing the laser activation. A straight beam. One shot. First man dropped like his strings were cut. Second turned toward the noise. She fired again, a single crack swallowed by wind. Clean, quiet, final. Bridge cleared. Hostages zip-tied and terrified but breathing. She freed them, updated hail, and directed the final sweep. 10 minutes later, the ship was secured. Not one hostage dead. Not one friendly injured. The helicopter blades hadn't even cooled before Vayner appeared on the deck. No smirk, no smug arrogance, just eyes locked on hers like he was recalibrating an entire belief system. His single nod felt heavier than any metal. Later commendations and letters flowed up the chain. But what mattered most happened in the ready room the next morning. The stares had changed, no doubt left behind their eyes. Only respect sharpened by relief and admiration. She didn't need Vayner to apologize. The mission had spoken louder than he ever could. And when fresh operators joined later and asked if Ridley Cass was legit, he answered without hesitation. Solid, sharp, someone worth following. Someone worth learning from. She kept pushing forward. Not because she still needed to prove anything, but because movement was her nature. Because storms still came. Because the world didn't get safer, only stranger. And because every time she pulled on gloves or checked a rifle before stepping into the dark, she remembered the lesson that had carried her further than strength ever could. Fear is allowed. Quitting isn't.